Jackie Gleason, born Herbert John Gleason on February 26, 1916, in the heart of Brooklyn, New York, was not just a man but a phenomenon. He was a comedian who could make you laugh until you cried, an actor who could break your heart with a single glance, and a musician who could transport you to another world with a few carefully chosen notes. Gleason's career spanned over 5 decades, leaving an indelible mark on television, film, and music. Yet, behind the booming voice and infectious smile was a man burdened by personal demons, haunted by a troubled past, and ultimately, brought down by the very vices that had helped him cope with the world's harsh realities. Jackie Gleason's story begins in the tough, working-class neighborhood of Bushwick, Brooklyn, where life was anything but easy. Born to Irish-American parents, Gleason's early years were steeped in hardship. His father, Herb Gleason, was a charming but irresponsible dreamer who flitted from one job to another, never quite settling down. He was a man of many promises but few follow-throughs, a trait that would leave a lasting impact on young Jackie. When Jackie was just 9 years old, Herb Gleason disappeared without a trace, leaving his wife, May, and their 2 sons to fend for themselves. The abandonment was a devastating blow to the family, but the worst was yet to come. Just 2 years later, May, the only stable figure in Jackie's life, succumbed to illness, leaving Jackie an orphan at the tender age of 11. These early losses instilled in Jackie a fierce independence but also a deep-seated fear of abandonment that would haunt him throughout his life. With no family to rely on, Jackie found himself on the streets of Brooklyn, where he quickly learned to survive. He spent his days hustling for change, performing in neighborhood theaters, and dreaming of a life far removed from the grim reality that surrounded him. It was in these formative years that Jackie developed the sharp wit, quick reflexes, and larger-than-life personality that would later make him a star. But it was also during this time that he began to rely on alcohol as a crutch, a habit that would follow him for the rest of his life. Jackie Gleason's big break came in the 1930s when he began performing in vaudeville, a popular form of variety entertainment that was a stepping stone for many early 20th-century entertainers. Vaudeville was the perfect training ground for Gleason, who honed his comedic timing and stage presence through countless performances. His natural charisma and undeniable talent quickly caught the attention of Hollywood, and by the 1940s, Gleason was making his way onto the silver screen. Gleason's early film career was marked by a string of supporting roles in comedies and musicals. His unique blend of humor and pathos made him stand out, and soon he was being cast in more prominent roles. However, it wasn't until he transitioned to television that Gleason truly became a household name. In 1955, Jackie Gleason introduced the world to Ralph Cramden, the bombastic but endearing bus driver from Brooklyn, in The Honeymooners. The show was an instant hit, resonating with audiences who saw themselves in the Cramdens' modest apartment, their daily struggles, and their unshakable love for one another. Gleason's portrayal of Ralph Cramden was nothing short of genius. He captured the frustration, dreams, and insecurities of the everyman, all while delivering some of the most memorable comedic performances in television history. The Honeymooners wasn't just a show, it was a phenomenon. Ralph's catchphrases, like "to the moon, Alice," and "one of these days," became part of the American lexicon. The chemistry between Gleason and his co-stars, Art Carney as the quirky sewer worker Ed Norton, and Audrey Meadows as Ralph's patient and wisecracking wife, Alice, was electric. The show's humor was rooted in the authenticity of its characters, making it relatable to millions of viewers. However, what many fans didn't know was that behind the scenes, Gleason was battling his own demons. The pressures of stardom, coupled with his perfectionist tendencies, took a toll on his health and personal life. Gleason was known for his intense work ethic, often working late into the night to perfect a scene or a joke. This drive for excellence was part of what made him so successful, but it also contributed to the strain on his relationships and his health. Despite the show's success, The Honeymooners only lasted 1 season in its original form. Gleason, ever the innovator, decided to end the show while it was still at its peak, a decision that shocked fans but ensured that the show would be remembered as a classic. The Honeymooners went on to have a second life in reruns, solidifying its place in television history and ensuring that future generations would fall in love with Ralph, Alice, Ed, and Trixie all over again. While The Honeymooners cemented Gleason's place in television history, he was far from a one-trick pony. Gleason had a deep love for music, particularly the lush, romantic sounds of mood music. He wasn't just a fan, he was a creator. Gleason composed and conducted a series of best-selling albums in the 1950s and 1960s, including Music for Lovers Only and Lonesome Echo. These albums were groundbreaking in their use of orchestration to evoke specific moods, and they earned Gleason a reputation as a serious musician. His music was not just background noise, it was an experience, a journey into the emotions that lay just beneath the surface of everyday life. Gleason's success in music was matched by his work in film. He appeared in a number of notable films, displaying a range that surprised even his most ardent fans. His role as Minnesota Fats in The Hustler, 1961, is perhaps his most famous film performance. As the cool, calculating pool shark, Gleason exuded an air of effortless confidence that made the character unforgettable. His performance earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, a testament to his ability to move seamlessly between comedy and drama. But Gleason's film career wasn't limited to dramatic roles. He continued to bring his unique brand of humor to the big screen in films like Smokey and the Bandit, 1977, where he played the blustering Sheriff Buford T. Justice. The role was a throwback to the loud, larger-than-life characters that had made him famous on television, and it introduced Gleason to a new generation of fans. The man behind the laughter, personal struggles and health issues. While Jackie Gleason was making millions laugh, his own life was often far from joyful. The boy who had lost everything at such a young age grew into a man who carried those wounds with him throughout his life. Gleason's personal relationships were as tumultuous as his childhood. He was married 3 times, and each marriage was marked by periods of estrangement and reconciliation. Gleason's first marriage to Genevieve Halford was a rocky one. The couple married in 1936 and had 2 daughters, Geraldine and Linda. However, Gleason's drinking and long absences due to his work put a strain on the marriage, and the couple separated several times before finally divorcing in 1970. Gleason's second marriage to Beverly McKittrick, a secretary, lasted only 5 years and ended in a bitter divorce. His third marriage to Marilyn Taylor, the sister of his close friend and dance choreographer June Taylor, brought him some stability in his later years, but by then, Gleason's health was in serious decline. Gleason's love of food, drink, and cigarettes was legendary, and it took a severe toll on his health. He was overweight for most of his adult life and suffered from diabetes, high blood pressure, and heart disease. Despite warnings from doctors, Gleason continued to indulge in the vices that had become a part of his public persona. He was known to drink heavily, often showing up to work with a hangover or worse. His diet, which included massive amounts of rich food and desserts, only exacerbated his health problems. By the late 1970s, Gleason's health had begun to deteriorate rapidly. He suffered from multiple heart attacks and underwent several surgeries, including a quadruple bypass in 1978. Despite these setbacks, Gleason continued to work, driven by a need to stay in the public eye and maintain his status as one of America's most beloved entertainers. As the 1980s dawned, Jackie Gleason was no longer the robust figure who had once commanded the stage and screen. His health was failing, and he knew it. In 1984, he was diagnosed with terminal colon cancer, a fact he kept hidden from the public and even from many of his closest friends. Gleason's decision to keep his illness private was in keeping with his lifelong desire to maintain control over his public image. He did not want to be remembered as a sick man, he wanted to be remembered as the larger-than-life figure who had brought so much joy to so many people. In his final years, Gleason retreated to his mansion in Inverary, Florida, where he lived in relative seclusion. The mansion, known as the Great One's Castle, was a testament to Gleason's love of grandeur and his desire to live life on his own terms. The house was filled with memorabilia from his long career, including the pool table from The Hustler, and a vast collection of jazz records. Despite his illness, Gleason continued to work when he could, driven by a sense of duty to his fans and a need to remain relevant in an industry that often forgets its aging stars. His last film role was in Nothing in Common, 1986, where he played the father of Tom Hanks' character, a man who, like Gleason himself, was facing his own mortality. The role was a poignant reflection of Gleason's own life at that time, and it brought a new level of depth to his performance. On June 24, 1987, Jackie Gleason passed away at the age of 71. He was buried in Miami, Florida, in a sarcophagus with the inscription "And Away We Go," a fitting tribute to the man who had spent his life entertaining millions. His death marked the end of an era, but his legacy lives on in the countless hours of television, film, and music he left behind.